welcome to part 5 of our voyage above the Arctic Circle aboard the beautiful Silversea Silver Endeavour. Part 5 is all about the Silver Endeavour and includes the ship tour, a tour of the accommodations, a suite tour, the drinking and dining guide, entertainment guide, and the pros and cons, ups and downs, ins and outs, and the good, the bad, and the ugly of this particular trip. So let's get started with a ship tour of the Silversea Silver Endeavour. The ship was originally built for Crystal Cruises, laid down in 2018 and completed in 2021. She was purchased after the bankruptcy of Crystal Cruises' parent company, Ginting, by Silversea Cruises in 2022 for an estimated $275 million. The Silver Endeavour is considered the world's largest ice-class expedition yacht and bears a Polar Class designation of PC6. The Silver Endeavour has 8 passenger decks, holds a maximum of 220 passengers and 207 crew, giving us a crew-to-passenger ratio of almost 1-to-1, has a gross tonnage of 20,649 tons, is 539 feet in length, and is 93 feet wide. Maximum cruising speed is 19 knots, and she is propelled by 2 diesel-electric ABB Azipod units. Well, let's do a quick deck-by-deck tour of this fascinating ship. Let's start with Deck 3, an important passenger deck with very little access for the passengers on it. Passenger access on Deck 3 is limited to the mudroom, around which all Zodiac activities are centered. Every suite has a pair of lockers and 4 boot drying pegs. The lockers are used to stow the life jackets and other essential expedition items. There are actually 2 different mudrooms, one port, one starboard, and both have similar staging areas and access to the Zodiacs. One of the mudrooms also houses the guest laundry that is well equipped and available to all guests. Also on Deck 4, there's a space called the Marina, although we never found it open or accessible at any time during our voyage. Stepping up to Deck 4, we find several different passenger venues. First is the Medical Center on Deck 4, located just forward of the Explorer Lounge. The Medical Center used to be the casino on the Crystal version of the ship. Next, we find the Explorer Lounge, one of the main gathering points of the ship, and home to entertainment and most of the lectures presented. Next is the tiny La Dame, the French specialty restaurant that contains the only specialty restaurant upcharge on the Silver Endeavour. Leaving the Explorer's Lounge and continuing down the long hallway, we find the Connoisseur's Corner, which is the designated smoker's haven aboard the Silver Endeavour. Fine cigars and cognac are also available during bar hours. Leaving the Connoisseur's Corner, we find El Terrazzino, the Italian specialty restaurant aboard the Silver Endeavour. Reservations are required, but there is no additional upcharge. Right next to El Terrazzino is the rather unimaginably titled The Restaurant, which serves as the main dining venue for the Silver Endeavour. Moving up to Deck 5, we find a few classic veranda suites tucked up front, sort of forward, with the rest of the deck being public venues. Just steps away from those suites is a living room style area that houses the Arts Cafe. The Arts Cafe, in addition to having a full bar, is the specialty coffee venue on the ship and has a small buffet going all day long, having sandwiches, wraps, and sweet treats available. This area is also guest services and reception, and home to the future cruise consultant. Continuing aft, we pass by the Otium Spa, where normal spa services can be had that include massages and special beauty treatments, as well as his and her separate sauna rooms. If you are in need of a haircut, styling, or a mani or pedi, The beauty salon is available for you. All spa and salon services are available at an upcharge. There is also a fairly well-equipped fitness center for this size of ship that include a good variety of cardio, resistance, and free weights, as well as an open area for yoga and Pilates type exercises. Continuing aft, we find the boutique. The boutique, as most boutiques at sea, contains a variety of expensive jewelry, clothes, sunglasses, and a few essentials. Next to the boutiques is a pool deck featuring a small pool and whirlpool, open during very restricted hours, but always open as the grill for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. At those times, there is a cover placed on the pool, and the hot tub is partitioned off. Deck 6 is mostly guest suites, but is also access to the bow and an outdoor whirlpool. Decks 7 and 8 are all guest suites, and I'll have a little bit more about those suites coming up in just a moment. Deck 9 is home to the observation lounge, library, and the study. The observation lounge all the way forward is an indoor-outdoor space that features a full bar and is the venue that hosts most of the musical entertainment on board. The library deserves special mention as it is really a library with plenty of books and board games to keep one occupied, and is a great space for just chilling and relaxing. Directly across the hall is the study. The study is a great place to follow what's going on during your trip, and usually has several members of the expedition team available to help you with research or to answer your questions. Deck 10 is only accessible by stairway from Deck 9. Also dubbed the Sun Deck, Deck 10 is home to the small jogging track that winds its way around the funnels, a few sun loungers, both in the sun and in some shade, and at least to me, one of the best observation decks. Deck 10 and the deck below are home to most of the Zodiacs that are racked and stacked here awaiting their launch. The Silver Endeavour has the greatest number of Zodiac to guest ratio of any expedition ship currently at sea, and the launching of these little inflatable speedboats was quick and efficient, and our main mode of transport. The Silver Endeavour is an all-suite ship, and all suites are contained on decks 5, 6, 7, and 8. The Silver Endeavour boasts 6 different suite designs, with the smallest being the veranda suite and the biggest being the owner's suite. The owner's suite features 2 complete bedrooms and bathrooms and a huge wraparound veranda. If you want to compare suite amenities, I suggest you go to www.silversea.com, where you can do that at your leisure. Next up, and only slightly smaller, is the Grand Suite that also features 2 bedrooms and 2 baths, with the second bedroom being much smaller and featuring only a single bed. Next is the Master Suite, featuring a single bedroom and bath with a large veranda. Next up, the Signature Suite. Next up, the Silver Suite. And finally, the Veranda Suite. We stayed in what is known as the Classic Veranda Suite, Suite 516, and although the lowest category of suite available on the Silver Endeavour, it is still very luxurious and loaded with features and amenities. It is spacious and of a size with the Classic Veranda Suites in other Silversea ships, at right around 355 square feet. The classic veranda features a very nice king-size bed, electronic thermostat and signaling, a comfortable seating area that sometimes includes a hide-a-bed for a third person, blackout curtains that proved very important for our trip with the many days of 24-hour sunshine, an in-suite mini fridge and bar area that they will set up your way, a legitimate walk-in closet with safe, a separate drying closet, and a generously sized bathroom with a sink that will accommodate 2 people and a large shower. There was good desk space with plenty of plugs, both European and American, as well as a large vanity area, shown earlier. The seating area was spacious, and using the curtain that you see here could partition the room to make it truly a suite. And although I prefer loungers on my veranda, the actual size was very accommodating, and the obstructions to the view were minimal. So let's talk a little bit about the Silversea experience and life aboard the Silver Endeavour. Silversea currently offers 3 different pricing structures: door-to-door, port-to-port, and essential. Door-to-door is the most inclusive and includes private executive transfers from your home to the airport and from the airport to your home, international airfare from one of many available gateway cities, a possible pre-cruise hotel stay depending on your air transfers, all transfers and luggage handling, the voyage itself, and then of course mirroring all that on the backside. If you would like to arrange your own airport transfers and airfare, you can save some money by going to port, and depending upon the cruise arrangement, you may have to also book your own hotel. Essential pricing is essentially just the cruise itself, and in the case of classic cruising, does not include any shore excursions as well. In the case of expedition cruising, the Zodiac excursions are still included. Once on board a Silversea ship, you'll find that almost everything is included. While I'm not going to read this entire list, I am going to highlight some of those inclusions in the pros and cons, where I will go into some detail about the good and the bad of some of these inclusions. There is no doubt that a Silversea cruise is rather pricey, but when you start adding up the inclusions, that price difference between a Silversea cruise and a cruise on any other cruise line that does not have this list of inclusions, and the actual price differential starts to shrink. But before we get into the pros and cons, let's go through the drinking and dining guide for the Silver Endeavour. Dining and drinking aboard the Silver Endeavour is, of course, limited to the size of the ship and the number of venues available, keeping in mind that the passenger load for the Silver Endeavour is approximately 1/4 that of Silversea's larger ocean-going vessels, and some of those limitations, especially in the area of dining, become evident. And keep in mind this dining and drinking guide is particular to the Silver Endeavour. All Silversea ships include what is essentially an open bar, featuring premium wines and spirits. Let's start on Deck 4 with the Explorer Lounge. The Explorer Lounge is the main venue for lectures and the special gatherings such as the Captain's Welcome and farewell parties. On Deck 9, all the way forward, we find the Observation Lounge that features a full bar and what I consider the main musical entertainment venue, featuring the resident musicians and occasionally a DJ. While strictly speaking not a bar, the Connoisseur's Corner is a lounge that has bar service from 10 in the morning until late at night. The Connoisseur's Corner features fine cigars and even finer liquor, all at an additional upcharge. Of course, you can bring your own stogies and order from the wide range of complimentary wines and spirits. If specialty coffees are your thing, then head to the Arts Cafe, open from 6 in the morning till 6 at night. Or if you're hankering for a drink, the Arts Cafe has pretty much a full bar and can help you out in that respect as well. Now let's talk a little bit about the food on board, and we'll start on Deck 4 with the main dining venue, the restaurant. Despite its rather unimaginative nom de plume, the restaurant is the largest restaurant on board and serves up breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The menus are rather restricted, but do change daily and offer up a couple of different protein entrees, as well as a vegetarian selection. For lunch, we found everything well prepared and varied enough to hold your interest throughout. For dinner, menu options expanded into what could be considered a 4-course meal and grew in sophistication as well. And although limited, there were enough selections to keep one interested throughout the meals. Next to the restaurant was Il Terrazzino, the Italian specialty restaurant. A reservation is needed to dine at Il Terrazzino, but there is no additional upcharge. On the other Silversea ships, we were quite happy with the Italian dining option. But here, on the Silver Endeavour, we actually canceled 2 reservations because the food, in our opinion, was slightly lackluster. Not bad, just sort of meh. Il Terrazzino is open only for dinner. The grill opened for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Breakfast and lunch being a sort of buffet thing, with a few items that could be ordered a la carte. Lunch featuring a good salad bar and even a small selection of sushi. The sushi selections were somewhat hit and miss, with the tuna sometimes being more a tuna jerky, sliced far too thinly for legitimate sashimi. There was also a hot station that changed daily, offering up some good options throughout the voyage. To cap off your meal, there was a dessert buffet at lunch. For dinner, the grill turned into an a la carte offering that was heavy on salads and steaks, chops, and fish. The menu at the grill, at least for dinner, remained fixed and did not change throughout the voyage, but there was enough variety to keep you interested and encourage several visits. Reservations are needed to dine at the grill, however there is no additional upcharge. The Arts Cafe was a unique dining option, open from 6 in the morning till 6 in the evening, and served as the specialty coffee station, ice cream shop, and served up buffet style, a wide variety of foods featuring wraps and small sandwiches, soups, and fresh fruits. But even better, the Arts Cafe served up a selection of sweet treats throughout the day, some being absolute standouts like the key lime pie and the variety of tarts. La Dame on Deck 4 is the French dining option and is available by reservation only and for a $60 per head upgrade fee. The small venue holds only 20 guests in a sophisticated ambiance. We did not dine at La Dame on this voyage and so have no report on it. The final dining option on the Silver Endeavour is room service. Room service is available 24/7 for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. Breakfast service is the only one that is limited to certain hours and is ordered by filling out the card in your room and leaving it on the door for your butler to pick up and arrange. Lunch, dinner, or snacks, or even a caviar service can be arranged through your butler at any designated time that you wish. Well, let's talk about the pros and cons of this particular voyage. And at the same time, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of several of the Silversea Inclusions and how they figured into the enjoyment of this particular trip. Because we booked the door-to-door option, we were entitled to the private executive transfers that are handled by Black Lane Limousine, and as in the past, we found that service to be effective, efficient, and once booked, something else we did not have to worry about. We also allowed Silversea to book our airfare and upgraded from the economy flight to business class, and in this case found the arranged flights to be very good. In the past, Silversea has had varied success, so it is important for you as the client to monitor those flights and make sure that you work with Silversea until everything makes sense and is to your satisfaction. And as it turns out, on this particular trip, all the flights were a big pro. After a layover in Helsinki, we hopped aboard our plane and made it to Tromso, Norway, met with the Silversea representatives, and were directed to a taxi for our hotel transfer. We were delivered to the Clarion Hotel's Hotel Aurora, and given some additional instructions about breakfast and transfer the next morning from the Silversea representative there. We were immediately allowed into our room, which was clean and perfectly adequate for a one-night stay. And overall, while the reception at the airport and the transfer to the hotel was a big thumbs up, we judged the hotel stay as acceptable. The next morning, and we were transferred to the ship from the hotel. Check-in was by the numbers, and definitely a pro. Our only requirement was watching a safety video and attending a muster drill, and we were free to roam about the ship. Well, let's talk in a little bit more detail about some of the inclusions on board the Silver Endeavour. And we'll start with something that Silversea makes a big deal about, the butler service in every suite. So is it a pro or a con? I think it depends on several things. How much you value the help of a butler, and whether they are truly engaged. Our butler on this voyage, Robbie, was actually very engaged and constantly looking to do something for us. In the past, our thoughts on whether a butler was useful or not have been sort of variable. But in this case, Robbie and our room steward, Emmanuel, were definitely a pro and a big thumbs up to them both. And now let's talk a bit about the wine and spirits package and the dining aboard Silversea Silver Endeavour. Not having to buy a drinks package to even enjoy a specialty coffee is certainly a plus to me, and I found the big selection of wines and spirits to be a definite plus. As far as what Silversea calls world-class dining, I will only say this about that. While there were some standouts and some great dishes, much of the food didn't stand out and was okay. Yes, I said it, just okay. So were we expecting too much? Perhaps. This was an expedition cruise after all, with a very small guest capacity. And perhaps we were wrong to expect the same thing that we had found on previous Silversea voyages on their larger ships. Onboard entertainment can best be described as low-key and destination-specific. Musical entertainment was limited to a guitar player and a pianist and occasionally a DJ. Entertainment was the destination itself, and lectures, information, and activities centered around that destination. Other than that, it was some of the standard cruise fare stuff, such as bingo and trivia. And once we got into the swing of things, we found the type of entertainment very appropriate for what we were doing. Shore excursions and activities were centered around and tailored to the areas in which we found ourselves, most without any infrastructure to speak of. It was all centered around Zodiac landings, wet, dry, and just cruising around in the Zodiac. Every adventure began with and ended with a Zodiac trip. Activities such as hiking with the expedition team, a Zodiac cruise with the expedition team, or even kayaking with the expedition team. As we got into the last part of our trip, which was all Iceland, and the infrastructure improved, we went back to having tours and excursions with local guides and tour companies. Almost all shore excursions in this case were included, and the only exceptions were those such as flight seeing tours and the like, which had a hefty upcharge. For more on how Silversea handles excursions on their classic cruise ships, please check out one of our previous voyages aboard Silversea. Or check out www.silversea.com for more information. One very welcome inclusion is the included Wi-Fi and Internet. While many other cruise lines make you pay for Internet access, Silversea does not. There are two different types of Wi-Fi and Internet available on the Silver Endeavour, one being standard and the other being premium or streaming capable Internet. Our suite category had standard as standard, and premium is available for the higher suite categories, beginning with the Silver Suite, or as I understand it, for an additional $30 a day. We opted to remain with the standard package. Now, going into this, we knew that this ship was equipped with the new Starlink system and had high hopes for increased speed and connectivity. Well, this worked out much as I have reported about our previous internet experience on other Silversea's cruises. In other words, it's a big plus or a pro that it is indeed included in the price of your voyage. The speed and what you can do with the standard package is still abysmal. Did Starlink offer improvements? Well, possibly the connectivity was better, but the speed was certainly not. I'll be trying out the premium package on our upcoming voyage because it is included this time, and I will let you know how that works out. For those of you not in a higher suite category, you may have to spring for the premium internet package. Onboard gratuities are neither asked for or expected, and that's a nice perk. And yes, I know that you are paying for it up front, but still, it is part of your package price, and you do not have to worry about that large addition to your bill at the end of the cruise. And of course, if someone gives you extra special service, you are certainly welcome to reward them accordingly. And now a quick word about the crew. The crew was, in a word, fabulous, and we never had a bad experience with any of them. And that goes as well for the second, but very distinct team, the expedition team, who almost to a person we found engaging, informative, and fun. As we wind down here, let's talk about debarkation and the ship-to-hotel transfer. Debarkation was pretty much by the numbers, although we had quite a wait on the bus before departing for the hotel. Luggage was handled in a separate truck and eventually showed up in our room. The bus transfer kind of fell apart when the bus parked over a block away from the actual hotel, and the bus driver, although friendly, was kind of vague on exactly where the hotel was. But I did the lemming sort of thing and just followed the leader. And of course, when we finally got to the hotel, the 40 people that were on that bus were all trying to check in at the same time, with 3 people at the check-in counter, only to be told that their rooms would not be ready until about between 2 and 4 that afternoon. We were fine with that. The hotel had lockers where we could store our carry-with stuff, and we set out for a foot tour of Reykjavik. Check out part 4 of this series for our walkabout. When we returned to the hotel in the afternoon, our room was ready at the Grandi by Center Hotels. And I was told by my new best friend at the front desk that we got an upgrade. The room was perfectly fine, and I think the upgrade was the view more than the room. I mean, check out this view of the bay. The next morning, and we were up for what essentially was another circus clown ride to the airport. It was all like deja vu all over again. A relatively tiny taxi showed up to transport 4 of us and our luggage to Keflavik International Airport over 45 minutes away. I remember scratching my head and going, hey, this can't be happening again, can it? But that sense of deja vu persisted as we loaded 4 adult passengers into the tiny taxi, along with all our luggage. And that amount of luggage meant that each of the 3 passengers in the back seat had to ride with luggage in their laps 45 minutes to the airport. And here's the reason I claim deja vu all over again. July 5th of last year, we also traveled to Iceland, and essentially the same thing happened, although this time it was 8 people in 2 tiny taxis, and once again, everyone rode with luggage in their laps. Fortunately, at that time, it was only a 15-minute ride from Keflavik to Keflavik International Airport. And once we arrived safely at the airport and unpacked ourselves, we were greeted by Icelandic superheroes and a few trolls, caught our flight back, this time on United Airlines, and returned home. Final thoughts? Overall, another fantastic trip with just a few small problems. And with only minor disappointments and issues, we were ultimately happy with the crew, the ship, and the itinerary. Today, you can't ask for much more than that. Well, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to be kept up to date with new releases. Check out my website at tomsmultiinterest.com and stay tuned for more travel, more short subjects, more food, more from the archives. And join us for our upcoming trip as we cruise the Pacific Rim, coming soon. Please check out some of our other content, and as always, safe and happy travels from T's Cruise and Travel Muse.